So Pride Month for me is the ability to center the identity of LGBTQ folks, being able to have a celebration for folks that normally aren't celebrated. I know it started as a riot and it's an act of resistance, but for some folks, that's their only opportunity to be out and about. For a day, you can live authentically without fear of reprisal. It's a day of joy. Each of those little acts of resistance can be an act of joy where you're not allowed to do things and then you're able to do it finally, and so now you get to experience that joyfulness.
Well, it means a couple of things for me. Pride Month is an opportunity to celebrate my individuality with people of like mind. It's also a time for me to be able to reflect on the struggles that have happened in the past, the accomplishments that we've created today, and the goals for the future, and how I want to engage in those goals. So for me, Pride Month is an opportunity to really examine my identity, allow me an opportunity to understand if that is still truly me, and then be able to put some action behind it.
Pride Month has taken on a new meaning because of the current political administration. It used to be very excited, we're going to go celebrate and be authentic and march downtown, go to downtown Tacoma, go to Seattle, and now it's almost fear and trepidation because of the political climate just being exposed. Who are we going to run into at the parade? Are there going to be counter-protesters? Like going to a gay event, am I going to be followed home? Am I going to be targeted? So it's mixed feelings. I'm proud to be an out lesbian. I'm proud to be a lesbian veteran, but I'm also almost afraid to go out and celebrate my authenticity in the current political climate.
It's basic human dignity, when you're in that space and someone recognizes you. You're not asking for special treatment, you're just asking to be recognized as another person. I think it boils down to something it's as simple as that. The joy you can feel in public outside of those spaces. I remember the first time I marched in Seattle Pride, the parade. Imagine going 46 years being told you couldn't be a certain way and having to live your life in a closet, and wondering if you come out of the closet, are your children going to be treated poorly? Are they not going to make teams? Are they going to get beat up in class? Things like that keep you from coming. Am I going to get fired from my job? All of those things. But when I finally was able to transition, and that first time I walked in the parade, if you've ever been to Seattle Parade, you know that the sides of the streets are at least 10 deep, plus more, and then you walk for a couple miles in the parade. And so as I'm walking along, I'm looking around, and it struck me, like, there are hundreds, thousands of people here cheering for me, living authentically. Like, they are just, you wouldn't believe the cheers and things, and it was like I stopped and cried because that time in your life where not only people just accepting you or tolerating you, but fully accepting you and cheering for you just for the simple act of living your life authentically. And to feel that, I don't know that there's another feeling that is that good.
When I was in the military, I was blessed with the fact that I worked for a lot of people who really didn't care. What I came to the table with, and my skill set and the things I could do was more important to them than who I loved. So just coming from that, I really wasn't that traumatized from my military experience. So it's just being able to be my authentic self and being able to serve veterans and just being able to be me and to be appreciated and included for who and what I am. And so I think it's a pleasure, it's an honor and a privilege to serve our veterans as me and not having to hide or be anything other than CJ.
So I feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of people who have come before me. We have incredible leaders in the past, both the WDVA and other agencies that I've worked with, who have been passed over for positions because of who they are or how they present themselves. They may have been harassed by coworkers. They may have dealt with other types of inequities that I have never had to experience in state government. Working for state government for over 20 years, I have always been accepted for who I am. I have had people strengthen me. I have had people celebrate me, but I've never experienced oppression when it comes to my job. And I really believe that comes from the leaders that have come before me so many times. And I really am happy that we can have this positive environment today, but I'm also extremely sorry that we didn't get there sooner.
In the military, I was one of the last classes of the Women's Army Corps. So I was at the tail end of the segregation of the women from the regular Army. So we transitioned into the regular Army right after I graduated. But we were also under that period where it was a definite huge ban on LGBTQ+. They didn't even know what the pluses were back then. But I know what the pluses are now because it's fabulous for me. But in the military, it was just really hard. You were subject to witch hunts. You didn't know who was a CID agent, who wasn't. So to survive in the military, people wonder why I do sports. If you wanted to find your people in the military, softball, any sports, but especially softball, was where you found your sisters. That's where your sisters were on the sporting events. And that back in the day, that was the butch femme thing. So we had a lot of feminine fans because they also knew that's where we found our sisterhood at. And that helped me. And then finally, towards the end of my career, we had Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Still have that secrecy, but not as bad, because you can't ask me and I don't have to tell you. So, but that helps me now because really I never really hid towards the end of my career, because everybody I work for, like we talked about earlier today, it's hard not to figure out I'm a lesbian. It's kind of written all over me. I got the GGDD, that's Dead Giveaway Dyke Do, for all of you that are wondering. I carry myself like a confident woman. So it wasn't that hard, but fortunately I work for people that let me be myself. So then when I came to state service, I transitioned to Department of Corrections. Easy. Paramilitary structure. I don't have to buy clothes to work in. I can go in as a private, basically, correctional officer. Easy transition. I'm working at a facility with hate to say it, might get trash for this, but gay for the stay mentality at the women's prison. So I had no problem there transitioning. Then Sarah says, "Oh, CJ, you want to come work for WDVA?" And I said, "Great," because I was a veteran and it's nothing better than serving the veteran community. So that's how I survived it and how it worked for me, the transition. Once again, we discussed softball was a big thing. And now it's just, I have kind of 3 circles of friends. I have my friends from the military when I was in the military. I have my friends from college, right, when I went to UWT. And then I just have my friends that I met throughout the community. And I found the older I get, the smaller the circle gets. So, but I've got my support system. I've got a wife that I've been married to for going on 12 years, but we've been together for 32 years. Because I like to tell people I had commitment issues. But I just have a good friends that are my support system.
So I actually think we do a pretty good job of that. We have our the Rainbow Alliance and Inclusion Network, which is a governor-approved business resource group. And actually, quite honestly, that was a driving force to help me in the state, because the goal of it is for you to bring your whole self to work. So I think if we can continue with that, where agencies they're fighting for people to bring their whole self to work, because they understand how that can provide different perspectives. And I can think back to just how much more productive I was when I'm able to bring my whole self to work, and I'm not thinking about anything else but being able to bring my whole self to work.
I'm going to turn this question more towards WDVA. What can WDVA do? I think that one of the first things is to celebrate our DEIB committee and really put some strength around that committee, ensuring that we can have events in all of our locations and that all staff can participate in those events in some way, some format, for all of the opportunities that we have to celebrate individuality.
First, look at the veteran piece. How much veterans bring to the table. They are the single greatest asset as an employee that we have in the United States. They're trained. They can follow directions. They can improvise, they can adapt, they can overcome. And then you bring in the LGBTQ piece. People in my community tend to be people persons. They tend to be able to read people. They tend to be able to keep a secret if they have to. But they tend to bring a little bit more to the table just by being their authentic selves. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So I tell them, you're a veteran. You have great skills. And be your authentic self. People will appreciate you for being your authentic self.
It's just do your best and treat people like a human. There are very specific things with LGBTQ veterans. I understand that. I teach the workshop. There's very specific things to make people more comfortable. But if you lead with kindness and just give yourself a little grace, and if your intent is pure, you're going to try to do the right thing. When someone's talking to me, I understand when they're when they're talking down, or when they just make a simple mistake and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, sorry, yes ma'am, let's go. And that's it, and they move along, they're trying. I know I dime out my mom all the time, but my mom, she's 70, and sometimes she struggles with the pronouns, but she tries so hard. Like, if you ever seen her, I've actually seen my mom, I don't think she knows this, but I saw her crying, talking to my sister, because she is trying so hard to get things right, and she keeps messing things up. But when you see that intent, it just makes you feel like, okay, they're just struggling. I do the same thing, I screw up too. So I understand that, but I think, just being an ally, do the best you can.
It's not just a June thing. You don't stick the sticker up. You don't put the cubicle sign up and say, oh, hi, it's June and I'm an ally. No, you do it all year round, all the time. It's your nature to help and support others. Not just LGBTQ. Most allies are allies for anybody who is a marginalized part of society. So just be an ally all the time. Be honest, be authentic, be trustworthy. And just be inclusive. Appreciate the people that you work with. That's what it means to me.
So the first thing is to say it when you see it. If there are issues that arise, don't stay silent. But the next thing is allyship looks an awful lot like friendship. My friends celebrate me. My friends support me when I'm down. and they straighten my crown when I make mistakes. And for me, allyship encompasses all of that, except you get to do it for more people than just your friends.
So I think the obvious answer is, all the policies and things like that, but what I really think inclusion is like is the things that happen behind the scenes. So I know in my first government job, after transitioning, I was worried, like, am I going to be sidelined? Am I going to be put in a corner and told to go color, not given opportunities for advancement, all of these things? Will I be singled out because I was 2 minutes late? So when I see inclusion, I see that in all parts. People ask for your opinion. People put you on teams. People value what you're doing. You're given opportunities to represent the organization. And you're not just put somewhere in the back, like, oh yeah, we hired LGBTQ folks, but we keep them at the desk back there. And I think that's what real inclusion is, at least for me, is actually being included in everything and not just some performative action, like putting a sign on the bathroom that says all are welcome to use it. It's like, well, that's great, but and that's important, but I do think there's other things that really hit me on inclusion.
Inclusion to me looks like stopping and hearing the voices around us and then putting action to it. Ensuring that every voice, every introvert, every extrovert, every internal processor, external processor, that everyone has a voice in every single room. And those voices are respected, and we put those voices to use.
There are people that care. There are agencies that care. There are people that care. There's organizations that care. They are out there. I think the hard part is just finding your community. And that sometimes is what folks struggle with, is just finding community, finding those people who will support you. And this place is a great place to do that. I moved around my entire military career and I could not build community because you're only in a spot for 2 years, if you're lucky 3. It's hard to put down trusting roots with people. You don't know how much of yourself to let out to them. But here, being able to build community. So I would tell people there are people out there that care. Don't focus on the negativity. It's important to know what's going on, but if you're solely focused on that without looking at joy ever, I think you'll end up focusing too much on the negativity.
We have a DEIB committee that not only celebrates the LGBTQ community and stands up for the LGBTQ community, but it also stands up for our African Americans, for our Asian and Polynesians, for every possible minority, including our veterans. So if we join that DEIB committee and truly engage, then we have the ability not just to support our own community, but to support the diversity that we're looking for within our agency.
In any space, we're just people. We just want to live our normal life. So when I teach a course, it's an allyship course, I put up a level setting slide just to get everybody on the same sheet of music about the queer agenda. But what's my queer agenda? Pet the cat, have a good cup of coffee, read a good book, spend time with my wife. And that's it, just living my life. What I would say for those veteran spaces, though, is yes, regular everyday people, but they are also coming in with decades of trauma as a whole, as a group, decades of trauma that generally has nothing to do with their military service, but rather the homophobia or transphobia that they experienced while they were in service.
So this is a little more serious answer for me. We are in a political environment at the moment, and what gives me hope is that we have a government that stands up for us and supports us in a world that's not supporting us right now. And that hope of paying attention to our veterans, paying attention to the LGBTQ community, really ensuring that our resources don't disappear, that we still stand behind our principles and belief systems, that everyone should be equitable. That's what gives me hope today, is we have a government that lets us stand strong. I would like to see more veterans have the ability to come out of the closet and be okay with being themselves. In the military, we haven't quite gotten past don't ask, don't tell. We're still working in that direction. And it creates a stigma. It creates fear of being judged and being oppressed. For our veterans, I'd like to see a safe community.